Hello everyone, we're cruising right along here with our persuasive speeches, and now it's finally time to talk about how to write the persuasive speech, because this is due next Monday at 8 a.m. So, um, this is really the hardest probably point in the course, and everybody's coming along very nicely, and you'll soon be over this hump. And I just want to tell you that soon the worst will be over. This is really the hardest project of the class, so there's that note of encouragement. The first thing I want to say is that there is a standing 20% reduction if you don't meet the 3-person audience requirement. And this 20% stands if you have 0 audience members, 1 audience member, or 2. You have to have 3 to avoid that deduction. This is a 4 to 5 minute speech with about a 50-second leeway either way, so try to keep it 4 to 5 minutes to avoid the 10% time reduction. You can use 5 note cards when you're presenting your speech to your audience. Make sure, there's no way for me to really grade your note cards, but make sure they're not too crowded. Make sure you only have 5 of them. If you have a really detailed note card, you risk just reading straight off the note card instead of delivering your speech extemporaneously, which is what you really want to do. So only write down what you need to know, a few keywords to remember your points. An outline is required for the persuasive speech. Hand this in at the same time you hand in your URL for your persuasive speech. I have lots posted for you guys to know how to do the outline. This is basically, see if I can get in the camera there, this is the generic preparation outline. There's a document that's posted there that you fill in this document. Don't create a separate outline document. Fill in the cells here because you have to fill in every single cell to get all of the points. And sometimes when people create their own outline, they miss things like the transitions, the strategies, so make sure you use this document. I have an example called Blondes Aren't Stupid that was produced last semester, and it's a great example of how to fill out an outline. I also posted the parts of the speech. Everything's an opposite on the webcam. I posted parts of the speech cheat sheet, and I'll talk about each of these when I'm talking about the rubric here in a second. But if you just go along here, every part of this cheat sheet corresponds to a different part on the outline that you have to fill out. So this is an awesome guide to help you fill out the outline and gives you exactly what you need. So use these resources that I have posted for you. Now, we will be using the whole rubric this time for the persuasive speech, whereas before in the annual bag, we didn't really need to go over everything on the rubric for the annual bag, but this time you will want to know the rubric inside and out. You'll have to meet every criterion listed here. And I have a PDF presentation of the full breakdown of the rubric. And I'll just go through. There's some things that are a little bit trickier to understand when you're reading it than if I try and give you an example. So I'm going to just go through, read through the rubric, make sure you also open that PDF presentation, and you'll have everything you need to construct your persuasive speech. So of course, just going through the rubric, you'll want to make sure you have your thesis, 7 words or less. The clear strategy. These are in your introduction. This is just a way to get the attention of the audience, really. That's what a strategy is. So several ways to do it is to identify with your audience, state the importance of your topic, cite statistics, tell a story, tell a narrative about what you're arguing about. Everybody loves a good story. If it's something that personally affects you, that might be a good way to do it. You can use an analogy comparing something to something else, or a quote. Quotes always get the attention of people. So those are strategies that you may want to use. Make sure, of course, strong delivery, you basically know what that means. Clear, thesis simple, meaning I can definitely tell what your thesis is. It stands out in your introduction. You make it very clear. See, of course, the nonverbal preview. Sometimes this is missed in the annual BAG speech. As you're going off on your 3 main points, make sure you use some sort of gesture, such as this. This is the easiest thing to do, to cue into the audience. These are my 3 main points. That's the whole purpose of it. It's to get the audience to remember what they're going to see in the body of the speech. It cues them into that. And of course, mini thesis simple, mini thesis clear. And that's basically the same thing as the thesis statement itself. Now, what students really struggle with, and we're moving on to the body of the speech here, is the internal review and the internal preview. Now, as you're moving along between each main point in your speech, and you'll have 3 of them that correspond with your mini theses, you'll want to signal verbally that there's some sort of transition happening. And the best way to do this is to review a point that you have already stated and then preview the next point that you're going to talk about. Now, what does that mean? For example, in my presentation, I say, cats are loving, cats are cute. Those are my first 2 mini theses. So if I've talked about the first mini theses and I'm moving on to the next mini theses, I will say, I have just told you how cats are loving. Now that's a review. Now I'm going to tell you about how cats are cute. See, I've just done a review and a preview. So think about this a little bit, let it sink in. That's one of the harder points to get, and it's a little tricky for students sometimes. And then as you're doing the internal review and the internal preview, you'll also want to do a nonverbal transition. So as I'm saying, I have just told you why cats are loving. I'm probably messing up the order here. I have just told you why cats are loving. Now I'm going to tell you why cats are cute. So I've just done a verbal transition and I've accompanied it with a nonverbal transition. See, so there's just cues in the audience that ideas are changing here. Now, additionally in this speech, you will want to cite your sources. Now, you'll want to make sure you verbally cite 3 individual sources, and these could be the ones that were on your persuasive annotated bibliography. So this could be saying that according to, and then you state your source, according to Dr. Weiner of the Cybernetic University, and that's citing a source. And then you'll want to qualify that source. Now, what's qualifying a source? It means that you tell us a little bit about why the source is good, why the source is credible. And in this example, you would say, Dr. Weiner was initially credited with the development of cybernetic theory. And that's just telling him, why is he a good source? Because he's developed this important theory. And actually, I'm not making that name up. Dr. Weiner, Norbert Weiner, did invent cybernetic theory. But all that aside, and make sure you, of course, have 3 different types of supporting materials. And there's a supporting materials PDF from the content last week where that's all explained, so I won't go over that again. But look over that PDF. You need 3 different types of evidence. So make sure you do that. And then just moving on to the conclusion, you'll once again, you need some sort of clear strategy in your conclusion. And these could be similar to the strategies that were in the introduction, such as quoting someone. But one of the best concluding strategies is challenging the audience. You've just made a claim about a topic that you're passionate about. Now you want your audience to go out and kind of help you create that change. So if you're talking about recycling, you could say, now I challenge you to go out and recycle all your number one and number two plastic bottles. That's calling the audience to change something in their lives. That's one of the best concluding strategies. You can also offer a great utopian vision. Envision a world where everyone recycled. The landfills would be empty, the ocean would no longer have a gigantic sea of plastic. Um, that's just a utopian vision that you could create in your conclusion. And once again, strong delivery, restate once more your thesis and your mini theses in your conclusion. And this is just to tell the audience, hey, this is what you should have got out of the speech if I'm just reminding you of what I told you. And it's a great way to wrap everything up. And nonverbal delivery, everything stands the same as it was before. Just work on those ums, those ahs. Make sure you're making eye contact with the audience. Don't focus on your note cards throughout the whole speech. And really, it might seem complex from the outset, but once you go in, you start filling out the outline, you start thinking about how you phrase things. It's really kind of formulaic and almost robotic, actually. It's a very formulaic way to write a speech, and it's really simple, actually, after you've gone through the process and thought about it. So I just made a really long video there for you guys. If you have any questions, let me know. Don't forget you have to submit your persuasive speech, your persuasive outline, and you also have a discussion post for this week. And I wish you all the best of luck, happy speaking, and I will see you next week.